Welcome everybody, it's Rob from American Cosplay again. Episode number 2, that's right, number 2. Now originally we did the whole Imperial buckle thing about how to do it and how to make it. So this part 2 is actually going to talk a little bit more into detail of how to make this look better for your Imperial buckle. That's our project for today on American Cosplay. Ciao!
Rock and roll. Showtime.
When criminals in this world appear and break the laws that they should fear and frighten all who see or hear, the cry goes up both far and near for underdog.
Okay, so, demonstrate some of a little bit of what we talked about. Some people asked about getting a little bit more into depth about drilling that hole. So here's our buckle, and what I will do is measure from across here to here, which is 4 inches. Now, those of you out there who haven't learned their math, half of 4 inches is what, everybody? 2. And I mark that 2 inches right there. Now, turn it that way, and I measure this part. This is just over 2.5 inches, so I'm going to fudge a little bit and center that up. And then, what is half of 2.5 inches? Well, that's going to be 1.25 inches. 1.25 inches will be right there, right? So now, this part, and the way they were intersect, so we know we got to move this inch into there, and that is our center mark. Beep, beep. It's our center hole, and that's where we're going to drill our hole for our disc. Now, pretty simple. What I do is, first of all, is I have my safety glasses, as you can see. Put those on my eyes because, as my father used to say, there are no spare parts. So I will do a pilot hole first. Yes, you need to have a drill. This is one I use. I use a smaller bit there, as you can see. And then I'm going to do what they call it as a pilot hole. Make sure it's on the right speed. And I'm going to so I've got a pilot hole. Now, I like to take it easy and go to the next one. Because I don't want it to get too out of control. So I'll do a small hole, then a bigger hole. If you are skilled enough to where you could actually do something where it's just one bit, go for it. But this is how, then I take it up to the next bit. There we go. So I've got my hole. Okay, so now these are what they call a galvanized finish, and that prevents it from rusting. Yeah, but we want a little bit better finish. So I'm using a 320 grit sandpaper, and we are going to take off galvanized to get to the metal. But what this will also do will give us a nice brush look for the buckle. And it's starting to come out very nicely, if you can see the difference between the two. So we're going to get this more of this nice satin finish to it versus the galvanized finish. If you notice, I'm going one direction, which will give us a nice brush look instead of going in swirls. This case, you want to look at your grain. So I get a little technical, making sure that everything has a little more art look to it, so it looks very good and clean. But definitely one direction, and not doing swirls or elliptical. And you can see what they do is, on the process, is they take this bar here and then they spot weld it. And what they do is, when you have the spot weld, then you have this big clump of welding. So what they do is then they take it to a grinder and they grind it off and make it look flat. But because they do that on the grain, you get this kind of awkward graining look right here of where the the 3 spot welds are. Now that's a 300 grit. Now I'm going to double it, and I'm going to go to a 600 grit, almost double. That's a 320. And what this will do so this is a finer, and it should give you a better shine. There we go. Those are their 2 different finishes on that. Okay, everybody, so here we go. What I did is actually I pulled out a heavier grit. I believe this is a 400. I went 400, 320, excuse me, 200, 320, and a 600. And this is the second belt buckle. It came out very nice. And we tried to disguise the weld spots as much as possible. This one's a little more harsh on that. It has a big gouge on that, unfortunately. Probably would have to go through almost the whole metal to get rid of that. But they look much nicer. Next what we want to do is we want to take our buckle, and we're going to clean off any excess residue on it, because since we took off the galvanized on top of it, it will oxidize. Oxidation is basically rusting. So it is very, very important that we finish that off on both buckles. So what we're going to do is we're going to spray it with acrylic paint. Dry this off. Get any of that dirt off. There we go. That's ready to go. So I'm going to use some Krylon gloss, and now this is acrylic, so it should have a little bit of flexibility to it. It's an indoor-outdoor spray. So I'm just going ahead and do a quick spray over. Make sure it builds up nicely on it, so we get a nice gloss to that. That on our Imperial belt will be assembling coming up. Okay, so now we're going to make this buckle look like this one. Pretty simple. Again, what we're going to do is get yourself what they call is a flathead or Chicago screw, and then that's going to be, it has to have that little itty bitty hole right there. Okay, see that? So that's what it needs to have. Washer. If you want to know the sizes, I have it on my first video. Boom. And boom. There we go. Okay. Sandwiched all together right there. I'm going to place the screw in like so. Put them together. Okay. Tighten them. Line it up. Like so. So, I got my 2 Imperial buckles. Well, that concludes our tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel or shoot me an email at the email address on the bottom. And if you have any questions, concerns, or whatever you need, feel free to shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to answer for you, or I'll answer your questions online with a separate episode. So this is Rob from American Cosplay. Have a good one.